Let's have this up. All right, this is Thursday, 6th period. We're doing our weekly video for creative writing. So, as you know, I've been trying to keep to this routine. Every Wednesday or Thursday in the middle of the week, we do one live video. The other days I might post a video, especially a short one, but it was probably, recorded and short. There's a couple viewers now, and obviously people can watch it later because I'm going to take this link and put it into a post on the classwork section that's got our stuff for today. So anyway, today we're going to do our next step. So we read a couple stories, and then you had a little bit of outline of your stuff, and then I had the first paragraph. Well, now we're going to do a first draft. Let's go ahead and type it while we're talking, unless I just make a million typos and have to keep hitting backspace. So you're going to do a first draft of a story, and this is going to be kind of nothing new. You're just taking what we've worked on and putting it all together. So this is our first assessment grade. However, it's a small one. The grades, as you know, are in two categories. We got the assignments, which is most normal things, and then we have assessments, which in here is probably not going to be any quizzes or tests. It's probably going to be turning in a story, revising a story, presenting something, things like that. If we do have a quiz, it'll be a small one over reading and things like that. So I don't want to leave that blank for too long. I don't want to wait until the end of the quarter and then put in a grade and it completely overturns what was in the little assessment category, little assignment category. Is not important anymore. So I want to have an assessment early and then have a couple medium-sized ones as we go and then have a big one at the end. And hopefully this will be a nice, good grade to get everybody off to a nice start. You won't be super harshly graded and then have to climb your way up. The only problem is if we get nothing and have to put in 0. So we're going to do our first draft, and this will be our first assessment grade of the quarter. And it's going to say, take all that key stuff that was in the outline. Okay. In your outline, you listed some key things. One, a character who wants something. We got to have that right at the beginning. It's sort of when you're telling the reader what's there or what's happening, we don't just accept that. We got to have another layer of it, which is what do they want to happen? What are they trying to make? What's good? What's bad? What's the value? If you just say that somebody is going to the store, well, is it our everyday routine and we're happy looking around, hearing the birds chirp? Or is it okay, I've got to get this thing. If I don't pick up a specific item at the store right now, I'm going to lose my job. That's different. That adds stakes and it adds a new judgment on everything that happens. And so then if there was a delay, when our guy's just leisurely walking down the street, who cares? But if our guy has to get this thing at 12:03 p.m. and it's end of the world, then if there's a delay and you run into construction or you run into a person who wants to have you sign a petition. Then it's like, oh man, we gotta change this. We gotta have our guy get around it or something, and it really actually matters. Okay, so a character wants something, and then a problem when they can't get it right away. So if your character wants an item and then they grab it and they're like, yep, great, done, thanks, then it's probably not a story. But if somebody else gets it first and now you have to compete, well, we might have interesting conflict. Or if you learn actually that item is a myth, it doesn't exist, it's not real, you have to change your life to adjust to that. Well, that's a new angle as well. That's a new conflict. Or it could be a be careful what you wish for type of story, and you get the thing you wanted, but it's actually more trouble than it's worth, etc., etc. You can have all kinds of that. But you have to have a conflict. You can't be just like, hey, this character wants something, and then they get it. Done. That's an event, but that's not a story, you know. And then, so they change themselves or change the situation in some way. It doesn't have to be good. They might like grow and overcome and beat the boss or whatever. Or it could be like, you know, they can't get it. They give up. They lose their minds and go crazy, or they have a tragic ending and be overcome with jealousy or something. But we got to have something going on. And I want to make the problem a little more open-ended because it, or someone else does, or it turns out to be bad, etc., etc. You can have this problem is where it gets really like, you know, creative, like in the title of the class. That's where it gets good. And that's pretty much it for the specific requirements. You can write in first person or third person. And when I haven't put in the grade yet, but when I glanced at your idea or your first paragraph stuff, some people were doing it in first, like, I'm doing this and I want to get blah, blah, blah. Or third, you know, he's doing this and she and all of that. Perfectly fine. There are times when one works better than the other, and I, once I see your stuff, I might suggest, like, hey, this would be better if blah, blah, blah. But for the first draft, we want to make it real nice and stress-free. You want to be able to get your ideas down, see what happens, and then later we can work with them. We can see what we want to change, maybe move something from the middle to the beginning and then flashback. We can do all kinds of stuff later. Okay, you write in first or third person. You could do different things with tense. You know, 95% of stories are past tense, but you could do a little bit of present. You could do a little bit of jumping around. It really depends. As long as you have those key elements. So if you have a story where the character is just kind of hanging around and doesn't really want anything and doesn't really try and doesn't really run into issues, that's when I'll say, hey, we got to work on this. But if you're doing one where it's like, oh, I decided to make you know, two voices and we switch back and forth between 2 points of view, that might be fine. Okay, if you have sort of different ideas, that's perfectly reasonable. The only thing I'll say is length. A lot of people say, how long does it have to be? And I wish I could just say like, oh, whatever you want. Because some stories need to be long, and if you write something super long, that's fine. If you write something medium, that's fine too. But I have to say a minimum, otherwise you could turn in 2 sentences and say, hey, I did it. So I'm going to say a minimum of 1,000 words. Okay, which is, you know, depending on how you do it, 3 pages or so. I don't care about font size and margins and all of that. If we were going to print these, then that might be an issue, but you don't have to fiddle with that a lot. I might tell you to change your font if it's really crazy and hard to read, but otherwise, not a big deal. So that's why we're going by word count and not pages or paragraphs or any other thing. Okay. If you're on Google Docs, you hit oh, by the way, do you guys know this thing? If you hit doc.new in your browser, then it makes a Google Doc. On Chrome, at least. I don't think it does it in other browsers. If you go to Tools and then Word Count, that's where you'll get your, now it'll be all zeros, but it'll tell you how many words. And make sure you're not highlighting anything, because if you are highlighting a certain spot, it would just say the word count for that one bit. And it's not doing it now. Okay. Pages 1, 0, 0, 0. Okay. Oh, you can even turn on, this might be new. I haven't seen that before. Display word count while typing. I would say you don't want to do that because people might go crazy just glancing over at it every millisecond. But in theory, that is an option. So I'm going to post this, and even though it seems a little thin, I don't want to make a giant chart with too many things you need. Just, you got a character who wants something, and tell us early on. Don't make it hidden. Even if you change it later, even if they want something small, and then later they, go for the bigger goal. And then a problem, when something goes wrong, and it's some kind of change. It doesn't have to be a huge change. It doesn't have to be like the character dies or whatever. It could be like, oh, you decide that you wanted something, and then at the end you decide, I don't care about that. I'm better than that. And so you might have like a mental change without actually fighting a rooftop battle with swords or something. It doesn't have to be like visually stunning. That is the first draft, and you guys have a little bit of time. I'm going to make this due end of next week, which, by the way, that's an e-learning day. And I am going to go back and grade the other stuff because there are several assignments that I haven't graded yet, and I apologize. The reading questions on stories, I'm going to do those pretty quick without putting a bunch of comments, even though I wish I had time to do the comments. But when you do your writing, I'm going to put comments. I'm like, hey, this is good. Do more of this. What about this? Etc. Etc. Question? Yes. And that's it. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to stop it here. I don't see any questions in the comments. I do see that we had some viewers, which is nice. And if we have people watch it later, that's even better. Let me see here. Let me get my... that's probably the one we're doing. Yes, it is. Okay. So, we got it. Yes, by the way, I was changing the Google Classroom header image because yesterday or today I posted an assignment in here that was the wrong class, because I had like my tabs open and I had a green one and another one and another one, and I just opened up the green icon and posted, even though that wasn't for you guys. So I posted something for the wrong class. That's why I changed ours. It's a nice purple, but it looks a little dark. It looks a little weird, so I'll probably change it again. Hopefully we'll find one we love. Great, thanks. Okay, that was 15. I usually try to